Rocket Lab announced that they are acquiring Iridium. This
Yes.
is currently this is a low broadband satellite system with the future of it being high broadband. Um, this is an amazing acquisition. Like
Absolutely. And
Iridium
it came
has
out of nowhere.
came out absolutely out of nowhere. They have more revenue. Iridium has more revenue than Rocket Lab does, which is
Yes.
kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah, but because of the premium, and this is one of the cool things when when your stock price gets ahead of its skis, as I've been saying that Rocket Lab has, is that when you go out shopping using your stock as the sort of like purchasing power, you're diluting very little relative to your own revenue price ratios. So let's take a step back and talk about Iridium for a second, because for those of us who are old enough to remember the 90s, Iridium was a Motorola project that the idea behind it was to do what Starlink is doing today. They were going to put up a bunch of satellites and provide high speed or basically internet worldwide using these satellites, as well as cell phone connectivity. And it turned out to be a lot more difficult and a lot more costly than they were expecting. And Motorola broke out the project into a standalone company. The company went through all kinds of financial problems over the past 20 years. And eventually they landed on these sort of niche products that using their 60 or so satellites provides low bandwidth services essentially to worldwide to all kinds of different use cases. So that is what Iridium does. They have roughly a $900 million, close to $1 billion annual revenue run rate, and they're profitable. They pumped out over $100 million of profits in the previous 12 months, and they're expected to have even more profits going down in the future. So that is Iridium. Now, what Rocket Lab gets from this acquisition is that it gets all this incredible talent of people who know how to build communication satellites, have done so, and are selling services profitably. They have 2 million paying customers, more than 2 million paying customers, and a profitable business that has almost $1 billion of revenue, and they got to acquire it for a tiny fraction of their market cap, essentially. And they're using a combination of cash and stock to purchase Iridium. So they're hardly getting diluted as part of this acquisition, especially
They,
for the amount of revenue that they bring in.
they
Go
also are
for it.
getting the Spectrum
Oh,
licenses, which
yes.
is immensely important.
Yeah, and the spectrum is the radio frequencies which they can operate on and provide communication services to anywhere in the world. So um, this also positions them extremely well to come out with a competitor to Starlink, and they have the talent to do that. They have the launch vehicles to do that. They have the satellite building technology and talent to be able to do that now. This just sort of completes the picture in a fantastic way. I thought it was a phenomenal, came out of nowhere acquisition by Peter Beck. I continue to be very impressed by him. This is why like sometimes it's worthwhile holding on to stocks that you feel might be overvalued, at least in the short term, when the company is executing brilliantly, when it's led by a founder or CEO that you have a lot of respect for. So anyway, I loved it. I think Peter should come on our show and talk about it and talk
Absolutely.
about Rocket Lab. So here's an open invite to you, Peter, by the way.
And the spectrum that Iridium owns, it's important to note not all spectrum is created equal. So, like radio waves, like the radio you listen to in your car, that's on like the electromagnetic spectrum. You can't have high broadband services on that spectrum. It's too low. The spectrum that Iridium has, even though their current system is low broadband, it can work with high broadband. Um,
Nice.
so that it's an update that they need to do, and it requires new hardware. But physically, it's absolutely possible, and that's where they're going, and that they're going to start to fast track that with Rocket Lab. The other thing I wanted to note is I did some very rough back of the napkin math of, let's say Rocket Lab keeps its price to sales ratio after this acquisition, taking into account dilution. And keep in mind, this acquisition isn't happening until 2027. So we still have a ways away. And most likely
Right.
the price to sales ratio is not going to be the same. But if it stays around 100, the price to sales ratio stays around 100, the stock price will end up being around $250 as opposed to the, I think, around $100 it is today.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's going to go there. It's just an interesting point of like, we're really adding a ton of revenue once these companies merge. And
Right.
then to your point in regards to timing, I don't know if it was luck or if it was just great operational capacity, but the fact that they're doing this deal during the SpaceX IPO and it just kind of raising the prices of all space stocks is fantastic.
Right.
Because if they did this a few months ago, it would be a very different deal. Still be a good deal, but very different.
Yeah. By the way, I am surprised that Elon didn't try to take out Iridium from the possibility of somebody like Rocket Lab acquiring them, because it makes Rocket Lab that much of a bigger competitive threat, whereas Rocket Lab right now is like this tiny little NAND relative to SpaceX. But by this acquisition, it actually, fast forward 5 years from now, they could actually have a very formidable competitor to Starlink. And for the dilution potential, especially when you're talking about SpaceX being $2 trillion company, you're talking about basically a 2% dilution for SpaceX to have acquired Iridium at 8 billion, even if they had taken it out at 10 billion to make sure that Rocket Lab doesn't get it. It would have been worth it. So I'm surprised there wasn't any kind of a bidding war for Iridium. And I'm kind of interested to know, could it happen, post deal announcement?
Oh,
Because
it
this
definitely
deal
can
is not
happen.
supposed to, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
because that's what happened with Warner Brothers, right?
Yes.
But this deal is not closing until it's not expected to close until middle of 2027. So is there a chance that Elon Musk steps in and says, not so fast, we'll pay you 10 billion for Iridium or whatever? That's still a possibility in my mind. So
That's a great point.
um,
Yeah,
yeah.
it could be SpaceX, it could be a different telecom provider, it could be ASTS. Who
ASTS has
knows?
we cannot talk about ASTS.
I just like poking you on it. It's the funniest thing. Oh,
Oh
I was
man.
going to say something else about this. Oh, I mean, part of the reason, just a hunch, that maybe Elon missed this is because Tesla
The
is
focus.
now a robotics company. SpaceX is now a AI company.
Right. Right.
This is secondary to what they're
Right.
doing.
Cars all of a sudden became a secondary to Tesla, and all of a sudden space has become
Right.
secondary to what SpaceX is doing. Sort of like fascinating place for Tesla and SpaceX to be, and there might be missed opportunities here for both of those companies because of the newfound focus in other areas, I guess. That's a
Yeah.
very good point.